Hi, wonderful people. Welcome to Talk with Justice. So, today we're going to be looking at how to be a self taught fashion designer or someone who wants to sew her own clothes. Okay, let's say you do not have the time to attend a fashion class, you do not have the financial means to attend a sewing class, but you want to sew your own clothes and possibly sew for your children or for your family members. Okay, just little things that you want to sew. So this video is for you. Stay right to the end and you will get the best part of it. Let's get right into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Justice. On this channel, we sit and talk fashion tips, fashion business tips, sewing tips, fashion lifestyle, and many more. Please consider subscribing and watch my video to the end to get the best part of it. So for you to do this, number one thing you need are some equipment, just very simple equipment that you need to get because I wouldn't say you should use your hand. Even if you want to use your hand, you still need some things to make it possible. So number one thing you need to get to teach yourself how to sew is to get a sewing machine. It's not possible, even though it is, but it's going to take time for you to just use needle and thread, okay, to make a whole piece of clothes. It's very possible, people do it, but it's going to take you a lot of time and it will be stressful, and before you know it, you might possibly give up, except you do not have the means to get a sewing machine. But for someone who is determined to do this, to sew her own clothes, and for possibly people beside, you need to get, number one thing you need is a sewing machine. It could be an industrial sewing machine, it could be a vintage sewing machine, that's the normal blackhead sewing machine or the whitehead sewing machine, whichever one you're able to get. Aside getting a sewing machine, now I have a sister, I don't know if she'll be watching this video. She has a sewing machine, she wants to sew, but how to use the sewing machine is the main biggest problem. Okay, so aside getting a sewing machine, the next thing you need to do is how to make use of your sewing machine. You need to thread the sewing machine very well for it to sew for you, right? You need to learn how to pedal the sewing machine. In fact, learn the different parts of the sewing machine and their function and how to use them. Now you're going to also learn how to identify the right needle for any project you want to embark on. Here I have size 16 and size 17, and this is a DP needle, which indicates that it is for a vintage sewing machine. So you don't go to the market and get any kind of needle for your sewing machine. Okay, so there are videos for all of this in case you want to actually go into it. I'm telling you things that you need to specifically look into for you to start sewing for yourself. So identify the needles that match with your sewing machine. Identify the size of needle that will go for any project depending on the volume of the fabric and the type of fabric. Okay, so once you understand this, now go over to your thread. You need matching thread, and you also need good quality thread like this, not just those smaller size. If you get this size, it is good. Okay, get them in different colors. This is going to make your work easier, and of course your machine is going to come with bobbin and bobbin case, so it makes the whole thing easier. All you need is to know how the machine functions and try as much as possible to master it. Now, in mastering the sewing machine, the next thing you need to do is to practice before you start cutting anything. Practice how to sew on a very straight line. Okay, practice how to sew on a very straight line. Practice how to sew different curves, different points. When you're done with all of this, mastering them, going over to sew other things will not be difficult for you. You'll be able to navigate them. So try to master this process. Once you're done with them, then you can move to the next stage. Now the next thing you need is your measuring tape. Okay, this is a measuring tape. The next thing you need is your measuring tape. It comes in different sizes, about two sizes though. There's smaller one like than smaller than this, and there is this, and there is one that has 120 inches, and this is about 60 inches. So whichever one you're able to get, just make sure the tape is consistent. Like what you use in taking measurements is what you use in drafting or cutting the clothes proper, so they don't have any difference. I hope you understand. So get your measuring tape. Now when you get this measuring tape, try to learn how to use the measuring tape. The measuring tape has so many numbers, like I've said before, 1 to 60, and then between the big numbers you have smaller lines, and the smaller lines, some are bigger than others, indicating there are different parameters or different numbers they indicate. You have the bigger line, which is half an inch. You have another bigger one inside, which is smaller than the half an inch, and then you have another tiny one. In this video, we're not going to go deep into how to read the measuring tape, but I want you to learn how to read the measuring tape. You can get your pen and paper and write the processes down so that you know how to go about it. So now that you've mastered the different numbers in the measuring tape and what they stand for and how to read them, when you measure someone and you get to that point, you know what to call it. The next thing you need is to learn how to measure a human being. Okay, you can measure yourself, you can get someone and measure. Learn the different parts of the body. You have the bust, the waist, the hip, the length of the person, the neck circumference, the arm circumference, and all of that. Okay, again, in this video we're not going to go into taking how to take body measurements, but these are the things that you need to learn. So you get your pen and paper and write down the next thing that you need to learn: how to take accurate body measurements. So once you're done with taking accurate body measurements, we are moving to the next step. Now it's time to get your scissors, your fabric chalk or fabric pen. You need to get your pieces of paper and pieces of fabric. Okay, now there are fabrics that you shouldn't use as a beginner. They are going to give you issues because different fabrics behave differently. Some are very difficult to work with. If you have something very slippery, as a beginner you wouldn't want to go into it, but for someone who is starting, cotton fabrics are usually okay. Ankara fabrics are cotton fabrics, they are okay. Things that are stable, that's a kind of stiff, right? You want to make use of them. Things that the normal sewing machine would not really reject sewing, okay? Stretchy fabrics might not be also nice working for the first time. So you need fabrics that have some kind of stability that will help you, right? Now, once you've gotten all of this, you want to also have your seam ripper. This is a seam ripper in case you make mistakes. Of course, you're going to be making mistakes, they are inevitable. You will easily lose your seams and sew accurately. All right, so once you've gathered all of this, now the first pattern you can use, or the first thing you can use, like I mentioned, this is very important, is to get your old simple clothes. Your old simple clothes can serve as pattern for you. Now, what do you use with your old simple clothes? It is either you lose them entirely. Remember I said old simple clothes. Use them entirely, iron it out, and use it as a pattern. So all you have to do is, once you get your old clothes, simple gown, simple top, lose it, look at how it was sewn in the first place, iron it out, place it on another fabric that you've gotten, and cut it exactly the same way. Remember to identify the seam allowance they gave, right? If it is half inch, remember you're going to sew on half inch. If they used 1 inch, remember you're going to use 1 inch. So identify the seam allowance, that is stitching allowance that they gave, where you're going to sew your thread from, where you're going to hold the fabrics together. So once you make use of this and lose it, remember I forgot to mention you need ironing and ironing table. Okay, so iron it out, place it on your fabric and cut exactly the same way. Bring it to the sewing machine and join exactly the way they joined it. You'll be glad you did. That will serve as your first pattern. You're looking at how it was made before, you dismantle and you reassemble again. Okay, so that is going to help you. So once you're done with that stage, don't go and start losing all your clothes. You can now come to YouTube, look for simple wears like flare gown, some basic tops, skirts. Look for simple gowns. Look at master or learn from a teacher you know you understand very well, how he or she explains. If you understand it, get a piece of paper and practice it, right? Don't rush into using the fabric that you bought. Fabrics are quite expensive now, except you get a cheaper one. So use a piece of paper to try cutting what they did. Once you get it right, then use your fabric to cut it and join together. In this way, as you continue to practice and practice, remember it's not going to come that easy and it is not a one-time practice. So you're going to continuously do this one step after another, one step after another, and by the time you start sewing something more beautiful and complicated, you wouldn't know. So all you have to do is start from the very beginning, start from the scratch, continue to practice. Sew for yourself as much as possible, sew for your family members, sew for your children, sew for anybody you can sew for. And before you know it, give yourself some time. And another thing I need to tell you is that you need to be patient. Don't be angry with yourself. Remember, you're learning on your own what people paid millions to go and learn. Okay, so give yourself some time, give yourself some patience. Practice, practice. Now, the difference with someone who is doing, who has a means of doing well, and someone who does not have, is that if the first person, it takes him or her 2 months to achieve success, you need to double. Like, if it takes this first person 2 months practicing 2 days in a week to achieve success, you who is practicing on your own for the next 2 months, you need to practice 5 times in a week to meet up with the person who has someone who is teaching him or her. Success is for everyone, but the measure of input you put is what matters in this journey. Okay, so I hope this helps you. In the next video, we're also going to be talking about how to improve our sewing. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Subscribe. Turn on the notification button. I have to be serious now. Turn on the notification button. Subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.